I feel like most of us have this thing in us, that this warrior spirit, and we want to see what we're made out of, and we want to be tested. My name's Cortes. I'm a former Army Ranger. I was born and raised in Southern California to parents who crossed the border illegally. So at home, everything was in Spanish, which made school a little more difficult for me. I didn't grow up some, academic star or athlete star. We were poor, so I was malnourished most of my childhood. But I stayed active as much as I could. I skateboarded a lot, and I played high school football for about 1 year. But other than that, we didn't have much money for sports or anything else. But I always wanted to join the military. I always wanted to be like them, because in a lot of ways I wasn't them. I was not strong. I didn't have a community. I didn't have people that I felt cared about me, and I wanted all that. So as soon as I could, I joined. I joined the military because I was born and raised on food stamps, right? So when 9/11 happened, I knew the country was going to need people to go fight. I didn't really understand the situation. I was in 6th grade, but I knew that meant war, and immediately they called for war. And I remember kind of feeling bad that I couldn't go and help. Little did I know there's gonna be enough time for me to come in. So I joined, for multiple reasons. One, the country that was taking care of my family and I was in trouble. So I felt like I needed to repay, all that food and money and support that either from state or federal run organizations or programs or whatever it was, where we were getting all this stuff from, because my mom signed up for all the programs that she could. So I felt like it was my way to repay all that, right? The country took care of me, so now it's my turn to take care of the country. But also because I wanted to be tested, that I feel like most of us have this thing in us, that this warrior spirit, and we want to see what we're made out of, and we want to be tested. And also because I wanted all that the military provided, right? Community, structure, and then come on, let's face it. I mean, the war movies are cool, so there's obviously that attraction to it. But I feel like most of us have this thing where we can't really explain it, but it's like something we have to do. No one's forcing us to do it, but we feel like it's something that we have to do. Yeah. So, being born and raised in a low-income community, there's things that comes with that, and that's, guns, drugs, and violence. And for the most part, I stayed away from all of them. So did my parents. I would see these groups gather and stuff like that, and it was the local gang members or drug dealers or whatever, but we always stayed away. And I stayed away until I turned an age to where those people didn't see me as a little kid anymore. It was like, hey, who are you with? I didn't want to get punked, because I knew if I didn't join a gang, sooner or later they were going to punk me, and I would have to live with that fact and walk around of, okay, yeah, I'm not in a gang and I'm not dealing with that drama, but sooner or later these guys are going to want to punk me, and I'm going to have to let it be. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stand up for myself. And at the time, I didn't really understand the decision I was making, because I just wanted back up against people who at one point tried to steal our skateboards. And I remember that day because I wanted to do something, but I knew half my friends weren't going to do anything about it, because that's not who they were, right? They're not fighters. They're not violent people. They're great guys to hang around with, but for lack of a better word, they were pussies. So in that world, right? In that world, that's what we call them. So, and I didn't see myself as that. So I joined a gang because I just wanted backup from the people that were just trying to take our skateboard. But at a young age, I was already fighting adults, because I was angry because of my situation at home, right? How my parents were, that we were poor, that, we didn't have this and that. So there was a lot of anger. And they used that. They saw that anger in me. They saw that I wanted to prove myself, and I moved up the ranks real fast. I went from just hanging around to being jumped in to selling guns and drugs, to controlling my little crew within the gang, and to we were doing about 90% of all violent activity that was being produced from that gang. But I knew this wasn't it. I knew this wasn't gonna last long. We were either gonna get killed or go to jail for life. And big things were happening that I don't know, I'm not sure if it's God, the universe, or dumb luck, but we kept getting away with it. But I made the decision to get out, and it was one of the most violent times of my life, because we were gonna leave this gang. I was gonna take the whole crew with me, but I felt confident because, like I said, we were the violent element of the whole gang, so who were they gonna send to get us, right? They're not gonna send us, you know, but I knew some gangs weren't gonna let it be, and that was true. Some gangs recognized what we were doing, and because of junior high and high school, some of them knew me, so they knew that I was genuine about saying like, hey, I'm out, I fucked up, this isn't what we wanted to do. At that point, we were also just more about making money. But some people weren't gonna let it go. And that was when I got in the most fights. That's when I got stabbed. That's when, you know, there was shootings. And then that's when eventually SWAT raided our houses. And we got away with some stuff. But around that time is when I turned 17 and a half, and I knew like, it's now or never. I got lucky. I always wanted to join, so I never used it as an escape. But that sign was there. Dude, you gotta join now or you're going to jail or you're gonna die. So when I joined, one of the things immediately that I realized is, you know, I wasn't that smart, right? I was street smart, but I wasn't educated, because in school I failed everything but PE and math. I got A's in math and A's in PE, but other than that, I failed everything. So the ASVAB alone, I barely met the requirements to join. You know, and I wasn't like some, you know, college or high school star in football or soccer or anything. So I realized, man, I was malnourished, and I didn't know how much malnourished I was, because in basic training, when guys were losing weight, I was gaining weight. And even the drill instructor was like, I can tell who grew up poor, because you guys are getting bigger. Your skin is looking one color as opposed to spots, because you're malnourished and your hair doesn't look super dry anymore, because that's some of the signs, right? Is flaky, dry hair, dry skin that's not all one color, and obviously weight. So that structure helped me grow and develop myself. And once I started applying myself, people were more willing to help. And unfortunately, I didn't start that way. In basic training, I'm not sure if they did it on purpose or it was just by luck, but they put everyone who grew up in the hood in my platoon. So you had guys from New York, from Florida, from Texas, from California, you know, North and South, and even some of the states where you thought, you know, there wasn't, you know, white gangs. Yes, there were, and other black gangs. So we bashed heads a lot, but the military knows what it's doing, right? We were all fought, but as they were breaking us down and we were growing and developing together, by the end, all the people that hated each other were, you know, some of the closest people to you ever. I didn't have an initial Ranger contract. I didn't even know that you had to have a contract. I thought you just went in the military and then they just told you, hey, you're good, you go over there. So I got to my first duty station. I saw, you know, SF guys and Rangers, and I wanted to be like them. And I met Hugo Vanderwall, who's still a mentor to this day to me. And I told him what my goals, and he's like, you can do it, man. If you apply yourself, you can do it. When I took off, I was a different human being of when I joined, and I passed. Ranger school and RASP so I went to RASP first, right? And that's where I found out how much mental toughness really counts, because there was dudes who looked like Superman and Thor that I remember, if I was comparing myself to them, I remember thinking like, fuck, I don't look like them. So if they're here, maybe you have to look like that and be like that to even pass. But little by little, they were quitting or not making it in one way or another. And that's when I realized, like, yes, you have to meet the physical requirements, but mental toughness is what gets you through. So when I completed RASP, I believed in myself. Before that, I didn't have anything to fall on, right? Like I wasn't a high school star or anything like that. I had not done anything difficult in my life. So once I had passed RASP, when I went to Ranger School, like 7 months later, yes, I knew it was gonna be a challenge, but it was a different grind, because in Ranger School, man, they take your food, they take your sleep. And I remember in 3 days, I did the math, because in 3 days, they gave us 16 minutes of sleep. I had lost 33 pounds, and me being a small guy, 33 pounds is a lot for me. And it was a grind, a mental grind that I felt like Ranger School was never gonna end. But again, it's that mental toughness, taking it one day at a time. Plus, you feed off your environment. So when you see guys to your left and to your right sucking too, but they're going still, well, you're like, if he's going, I want to go too. He's my buddy. I can't let him down. Can't let myself down. Yeah, it's a brotherhood. Meanwhile, they're having the same thoughts, but they're not expressing it, right? They're thinking, fuck, this sucks too, but they're just gonna keep going. So it's a bond that you have to go through it to know exactly what that feels like. In some cases, right, there's not food, there's not sleep, you sleep on the floor. I mean, the first time I had a mattress and a bed to myself was the military, right? I got used to sleeping on the floor and not eating and not sleeping, and then also just being bored, because when you don't have money, you don't really have a lot of activities that you're doing, so you're kind of bored and just chilling there. In the military, there's a lot of times where you're bored, there's no sleep, there's no food, and you're sleeping on the floor, and when you do sleep, you're sleeping on the floor. And I feel like it helped me, because I can tell some guys were having issues with that, and we're thinking like, this is just another day. Because I was prior service, I had to graduate Ranger School to officially have a spot in regiment, right? So in 1 year, I went to RASP, Airborne School, CERT, which is Small Unit Ranger Tactics, Master Breacher, because I was a combat engineer, and I did all that in 1 year, and that's when I officially had my spot. So deployment for me was first Iraq and then Afghanistan, and Afghanistan was when I got attached to 3rd Special Forces group, and their mission was different, right? So I was used to being in a platoon and a company and stuff like that, and so when we got attached to 3rd group, it's a small element and that's it. Like, there is no huge support around you, like right there immediately, right? And I got to see how a small group of individuals, how much they can actually do. Throughout my military career, I've been lucky enough to learn from people like that. So when I got out of the military, I call it the honeymoon stage, right? My wife is from here, I'm from here, so we come home, we're spending a lot of time with our moms, dads, uncles, cousins, everything, right? So it's a great time. But after the honeymoon phase, it all settles in, and then I had lost my community and my purpose. So once that actually sunk in, I had a bunch of, not just physical, but mental health issues, right? It's you don't know what you're doing, who you are. I tried hanging out with old friends, and I realized, like, man, we are not the same people at all. So there's that struggle, but I had to do something. I didn't want that struggle to be the end of me. So I went to find a new community, a new purpose. And so I started off by hosting events at my house. I would buy the pay-per-view, the UFC pay-per-view, I would buy food and drinks, and I would tell veterans from my martial arts gym and school, like, hey, come out here, man, come just hang out. They gave me a purpose, they gave me a community, and little by little, it was growing. But, it was just me paying for stuff. So one day my wife got pregnant with our 3rd kid, and she was like, hey, we can't keep doing these events. We either go negative into our account or we barely make ends meet. Like, we have to stop. We have a 3rd baby coming. And she was right. But I wasn't gonna stop doing these events, because I knew what it did for me, and I knew what it did for the veterans, because at that point, people had told me, like, yo, man, thank you for doing this. It means a lot. I never get a chance to hang out, and sometimes I just purposely stay at home or don't go to events and stuff like that, and I can tell you care. So that's when I started OG Pumpkin. OG Pumpkin is an active lifestyle brand, right? I'm not just a veteran, just like most veterans aren't just that, right? They do other things. So I skate, I surf, and I train and compete in martial arts. So as the company grew, I could do more than just the pay-per-views, right? And the food and the drinks. I now sponsor professional fighters, skaters. The gym that we're at right now was good to me. before I even had a company, while I was broke, while I couldn't even pay the membership. So now, you know, we got a flag hanging here. I support the gym as much as I can. And the company is so big right now, and people believe in the cause because I was doing all this before the company, before the likes and the follows, that we're at about over 500 people with an OG Pumpkin tattoo design on them. And they are from different militaries. You know, I've gotten pictures from Germany, Spain, Poland, Mexico, Canada, and in the special operations community, in the medical field, in everything, you know, even SpaceX. I remember somebody sent me a group picture. I think it was like 15 guys. 15 guys, they were all friends in the same unit. And I remember thinking like, yo, that's crazy. Along the way, right, along me doing all this community work, I've met some great people and great connections, and some of them become friends. And my friend Benji, he's a former MARSOC Raider, and he's a great guy, right? He owns Thrash and Raid skateboards, and he's always a happy guy. So when I saw him one day, I could tell someone was bugging him. So I asked him like, yo man, you all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. And I knew he was lying. So I let some time pass by, and then I was like, come on, man, what's going on? And then he just took a deep breath, and then he just let it all out, right? And that's when I found out, you know, like how bad things were. You know, his wife, because of genetics, has stage 5 kidney failure. She's in her early 30s, so it's not like it was because of she did drugs or smoked and drank or whatever, you know? She's got a bad draw of cards, right? So I feel like I had to do something. Obviously, you think I'm gonna throw some money at it. You know, can we do this or that? But you know, you can't throw money at that type of problem. She needs a kidney. So I told him like, yo, dude, fucking, I got two. I'll give her one. You know, they're like, oh, well, you gotta do all these tests, all this and that. And I was like, what do I have to do? Let me do it. So after 8 months of driving back and forth to UCLA and doing this exam and that exam and this retest, I just got approved, and she did medically approved to receive my kidney. As a matter of fact, today the committee votes on it, and they're going to vote yes. At this point, if we get all the way to the committee, it's a yes. They just want to make sure everything's aligned on their end and our end, and I expect a call, and I'm going to tell them, let's do this. Let's set this date, and just do it. We're strong individuals and stuff like that, right? And this community has a lot of people willing to die for each other, but what it needs is more people willing to live for each other. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's lost friends overseas or through suicide, right? And we're fucking all tough. We know that. We're all badasses and we'll do this and that, but some of the hardest things is to live for each other, and I feel like we need more of that in the community. Hard to kill for me means keep going, keep pushing, right? Because when it's good, yeah, it's easy. It's easy to fight when everything is good, when everything is on your side and you're balanced. It's when everything is going bad, when it's hard to fucking push through, and there's something in you that just won't give up, and you just keep pushing, whether it's a physical or mental problem, knowing that if you just keep at it, it's not always going to be darkness. You know, there's going to be some light at the end. I'm Angel Cortes. You can find me on YouTube under Ranger Cortes, or Instagram of OG Pumpkin, or Angel G Cortes 175.
Again, guys, this is Matt Petch, the operational athlete. I'm here with Angel Cortes. You know where to find us. Angel, thank you so much for fucking being on our page, man. This is absolutely amazing. Your story is amazing, and I think it's gonna help a lot of people hearing your story. Where we come from, we have very similar backgrounds. Where we come from is gonna help people, bottom line. Yeah. And telling our story is gonna let kids know and let others know that, you know, it doesn't matter where you come from. You can do whatever you wanna do. And you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a businessman, you can be an Army Ranger, Special Forces, whatever. Thank you, brother.
Thank you
for coming on, and thank you guys again for joining us, Iron Infidel, and make sure you subscribe to the page. We're doing this. This is the Hard to Kill series, and we're bringing on military veterans, and we're telling their stories, entrepreneurs, everything. So thank you guys again for coming in.